we have agreed to a commitment to extend the community's powers to other supplementary sectors of economic integration without having any definition of what they are? Would he? Because you would have thought he would from what he said. One of them was that the Commission wants to extend its powers and competence into the area of health. We said no, we weren't going to agree to those things. And what he says, he sounded as if he would, for the sake of agreeing, for the sake of being little Sir Echo and saying me too. Would he have agreed to extending qualified majority voting within the Council, to delegating implementing powers to the Commission, to a common security policy, all without any attempt to define or limit them? The answer is yes. He hasn't got a clue about the definition of some of the things he is saying, let alone securing a definition of others. Now, with regard to some of the particular questions that he asked, on the Soviet Union, the question of support is to wait until the IMF report is received. That is coming at the next summit. With regard to unity, it wasn't we who stopped unity on agriculture. It was France and Germany. Had he even read the statement, which he has before I come in, he would in fact have heard that. Had he even listened to it when I gave it, he would have known that it was François Mitterrand who said that he would not, in fact, agree to the Commission's proposal. So it is not we who are to blame in any way about not reaching agreement on agriculture. And may I say to him, but for the insistence of my right honourable friend and myself, the chair would not even have had the matter discussed. So urgent was it that it should be. I told the chair over a week ago that if the farm ministers did not reach agreement, we must discuss it, and I wrote to him. He did everything he could to see that a matter so urgent was not discussed. We succeeded in getting it discussed. With regard to his strictures about economic and monetary union, that phrase was agreed to by the European community before we went in. It is one of those things which we inherited. It was agreed in 1972. When it came to defining it, we went in 1973. Went in 1973, and I had really understood that most honourable and right honourable members opposite were actually in favour of being in. But I wonder today if they're changing their stance just for the sake of various debating points. With regard to our Commissioner Leon Britton, he is, of course, a member of the Commission. He is a loyal member of the Commission. Yes, the Commission does want to increase its powers. Yes, it is a non-elected body, and I do not want the Commission to increase its powers against this House. So, of course, we are differing. Of course, the chairman or the president of the Commission, Mr. Delors, said at press conference the other day that he wanted the European Parliament to be the democratic body of the community. He wanted the Commission to be the executive, and he wanted the Council of Ministers to be the Senate. No. No. Perhaps the Labour Party would give all those things up easily. Perhaps they would agree to a single currency, to total abolition of the pound sterling. Perhaps, being totally incompetent with monetary matters, they'd be only too delighted to hand over the full responsibility, as they did to the IMF, to a central bank. The fact is, they have no competence on money, no competence on the economy, so yes, the right honourable gentleman would be glad to hand it all over. But what is the point in trying to get elected to Parliament only to hand over your sterling and to hand over the powers of this House to Europe? Perhaps the right honourable gentleman will understand his brief a little bit better next time.
Nicholas Ridley.
May I congratulate
Mr. Ridley.
May I congratulate my right honourable friend on standing up for the interests of the people of this country. May I ask her whether she thinks that the 11 are not now both isolated and intransigent in relation to agricultural policy and the GATT round? Does she think that they are deliberately working for a failure of the GATT round in order to achieve their objectives of a fortress Europe? If that is the case, does she not agree that this is not a destination for which we want to board?
Mr. Speaker, my right honourable friend is right. The European community is the only group of nations which, after years of studying the problem, has not tabled an initial negotiating position on agriculture in the GATT round. The United States has tabled one, Japan has tabled one, the Cairns Group have tabled theirs, Canada, Switzerland. From the community, nothing. And it really is a disgrace that we haven't even been able to agree on a negotiating position, let alone start to negotiate with all the other groups by between now and the end of the year. Yes, I agree with my right honourable friend that several countries in the community are highly protectionist, that the common agricultural policy is a protectionist policy, but we were trying to produce the protectionism, first because it would help the third world, secondly because it would mean that we do not have export subsidies and take therefore business away from other countries, and thirdly because we in this country do believe in open trade. It is serious. It was the most serious thing to be discussed at the European Council, and I most earnestly hope that this time agricultural ministers, there will be no difficulty with us, but the French and German agricultural ministers will accept the proposals of the Commission for the negotiating position in the Uruguay round.
Ashton.
Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister realise how welcome it was that we heard in her statement that she has at last been forced to admit that the hard ECU proposal can be a transition mechanism to a single currency? Would she congratulate both her Chancellor and her Foreign Secretary in levering her forward towards reality on that matter? Does she realise that that is good news for Britain? But does she realise how much bad news for Britain it was in her performance at Rome? Does she realise that she has, in a single meeting, isolated this country in Europe, weakened our voice in Europe, divided her cabinet, and betrayed this country's long-term best interests? Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister realise that if she faced a Labour Party which was not equally divided, equally muddled, equally confused on this matter, she would today face a motion of no confidence in her failure at this historic moment? Does she realise?
Order.
Does she realise?
Order.
Does she realise that for as long as she hangs on to power, so long will Britain be held back from its future? That she no longer speaks for Britain, she speaks for the past.
What rubbish.
Oh dear, Mr. Speaker. It seems as if there must be quite a lot of late parrots in cloud cuckoo land. If the right honourable gentleman can come out with that stuff. Of course, if you have a parallel currency, and people choose to make more and more use of it, it could evolve into a single currency, but that could not be done without a decision coming back to this House and, I believe, to the people of this country. I take it that the right honourable gentleman's policy is to abolish the pound sterling, the greatest expression of sovereignty. I think that would be totally and utterly wrong in any event to agree to that now. That is a matter for future generations and future parliaments, and Parliament is supreme, not the right honourable gentleman, the member of the Liberal Party.